Hello and welcome to How the Heck. Today we are going to learn how the heck do I make Hamantaschen. Now Hamantaschen is a Jewish cookie, a sugar cookie, traditionally served during the Jewish holiday of Purim. I will explain a little bit about what that is as we go along. For equipment you will need 1 cup and half cup measuring cups. You will need a tablespoon, a teaspoon, a large regular spoon you can use for mixing. You can use a wooden spoon as well. A non-serrated, flat-edged butter knife. We're going to use the flat edge for something. 2 eggs. 1.5 cups of softened butter. Now, butter, when it's in the fridge, is rock solid. You could probably hit someone in the head with it like a brick and knock them unconscious. So, if you need to soften it without letting it sit out, you're going to cut it into equal chunks, put it in a microwave-safe container, and in this case, I put it in the microwave on high for 20 seconds. But keep an eye on it, because once it starts softening, if it goes into that melting phase, it's gonna melt fast and it's gonna start popping in your microwave from the heat. You will need granulated white sugar. It can be extra fine granulated, it can be regular granulated, that's fine. You are going to need all-purpose flour, okay? Not bread flour, not self-rising flour, all-purpose flour. You also are going to need baking powder, vanilla extract. I always use pure vanilla extract versus imitation flavoring, but it's okay to use imitation. And if you don't have vanilla at all, you don't need to put it in. It's not an essential part of the recipe. And pulp-free orange juice. If you have orange juice at home already and it has pulp in it, that's fine. Just strain some of the pulp out through a strainer and use that. Try not to use orange juices that have added vitamins in it. If you have that, it'll be okay. You'll live. I just prefer the straight stuff. Alright, so because this is How the Heck, we are going to teach you things from the very basics. For example, if I tell you to cream the sugar and the butter, I'm going to show you how to cream it, okay, what creaming means. I'm going to be using an electric mixer, okay, but if you don't have an electric mixer, that's all right. You can use a large mixing bowl and spoon, or you can use even a large pan, or pot, excuse me, and a spoon, and that'll work just fine, okay? This is a refrigerated dough, so you are going to want to have it set in the refrigerator for at least 1 hour. 1 to 2 hours is good. Overnight is great, but just know that if you do it overnight, because of the butter solidifying again from the cold, it is going to be rock solid. So you will want to either take it out and let it set for a while to get softened, or you're going to have to work the dough in pieces in order to kind of melt that butter from the heat of your hands and get it so you can roll it out into a shape later. Now, Purim is a very important holiday in Judaism. It basically celebrates the fact that there was a very smart Jewish woman who saved a whole bunch of Jewish people. So there is this bad guy named Haman. He was the advisor to the king. The king's like, dude, I trust you, this is great! But no, the guy had bad intentions. So Haman went and he decided he was going to try to find a way to kill all the Jewish people. Well, the king's wife, young wife, she said, oh, this isn't good, I'm Jewish. The king doesn't know this, but I'm Jewish, this isn't cool. So she, and with the help of her cousin, went and talked to the king, who listened to his wife and her cousin, and canceled the decree to kill all the Jewish people. So that is essentially what Purim is, the celebration of Esther getting that courage up and, you know, confronting her husband and telling him not a cool idea to go around killing people just because they're different. The first thing you want to do is take your 1.5 cups of butter. Now, 1.5 cups, if you're wondering how exactly do I measure this lump of butter, 1.5 cups of butter is 3 sticks of butter if your butter is in sticks. If it is just one solid lump, it is 3/4 of that. 75% of that rectangle is what needs to be softened to go in here. Now I'm going to show you the manual way of creaming things, just take a little chunk of the softened butter here and set it out for a second. So you're going to put your butter into your mixing bowl and you're going to measure out 1 cup of sugar. Okay, cup, 1 cup of sugar. You could use a little less if you don't want a sweet, really crazy sweet Hamantaschen, but it's up to you. It is supposed to be a sugar cookie, so I would recommend putting the full cup in. So you're going to put your full cup in, okay? Now, you're going to cream this. I'm going to show you how to manually cream if you are using a mixing bowl and a spoon. So we've got our pat of butter in here, and we're going to put a little sugar, just as a demonstration to show you how to cream. The easiest way to cream is to take the back of a spoon. You're going to take that and you're going to smush your butter against the back, okay? You're going to smush it and flatten it with the back of your spoon, okay? And you're going to keep doing that until all of the sugar and the butter is kind of mushed together and is kind of like a paste consistency. So I'm just going to toss that in there. So if you're using an electric mixer, make sure you lock it in place, okay? Always lock it in place. Start low on the lowest setting. If you do a high setting for anything that has dry ingredients, it's going to go poof, right? And it's going to get all over the place, which is fine in some instances. You know, I've had flour go poof and I've laughed hysterically because that's the kind of person I am, but start on low, okay? And you're going to probably notice that the bread will kind of climb up the paddle and stick there. It's okay. As you go and move up to the next notch for about 5 seconds, and then the next notch for about 5 seconds. Now you can move it to a higher setting if you want to make a really kind of frothy, creamy kind of consistency, which is really what you want. But right now I'm not on the sturdiest table, so I don't quite want to do it too hot. Once you... Thank you, I agree. Once you see the chunks of butter disappear, then you're good, right? Okay, so our resident dog has informed me that we need to scrape off the paddle once we have creamed our sugar. Again, it should be looking like a paste, okay? So we are going to take that, scrape it off, and just kind of scrape the sides of the bowl because it will have come up the sides of the bowl as the paddle mixed it. So just kind of push down with your spoon until it's all in the bottom of the bowl. All right, the next thing we're going to add are 2 eggs, okay? If you don't know how to crack eggs, you can feel free to take a look at our other video on this channel that will tell you exactly how to crack eggs, okay? So you're going to put 2 eggs, not the shells. If any shells fall in, please take them back out. 2 eggs right in there. Now before you add any other wet ingredients, you want to incorporate the egg into your creamed butter and sugar. So lock your mixer in place or get your bowl out, and you're going to always start on low for about 5 to 10 seconds. Next one up, 5 to 10 seconds. Next one up, 5 to 10 seconds. And if you want, you can even go to the next one. But not for too long, because otherwise you're really fluffing those eggs and you're making scrambled eggs. Okay, so what you have now looks almost like curdled eggs, okay? Almost like very wet scrambled eggs, and that's okay. That's what you want for now. To this mixture, we are going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Now, I have a tradition that my mother passed down to me. I always have to sniff the vanilla, so excuse me. Camera dude, you want to sniff the vanilla? No. Okay, well, usually he does. So, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. If you really like a vanilla flavor, you can go ahead and add a little bit more if you want. To that, we are going to add 6 tablespoons of orange juice. So as not to overdo the orange juice, we are going to pour it over a small bowl and pour from there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, if you get a little bit extra in there, don't worry about it. That's kind of the thing of Hamantaschen. It has a slight orange taste to it. Some recipes use orange juice like I do. Some recipes use grated orange peel. So pour that right in there. And again, the acid that's in here is going to make everything kind of curdle a little bit more, but it's okay. It is supposed to look like that. So you're going to put your mixer in, lock it in place. Definitely, with all that liquid, start it on the lowest setting. 5 to 10 seconds. Next setting, 5 to 10 seconds. Next setting, 5 to 10 seconds. All right, now this is the time when you want to scrape things again. You want to scrape around from the edge of the bowl and off of the mixing paddle. Alrighty, now we're going to add our dry ingredients. You can do this 2 ways. You can put the dry ingredients in a separate bowl and then mix them and add them together little by little, or you can just measure directly into the bowl. What I usually do is I will measure half of the flour here, mixed with the baking powder, and then I will put that in, and then I will put the remainder of the flour. So, our flour. How do we add flour? How do we get it in that cup? All right, so we need 4.5 cups of flour. There's a heck of a lot of flour in this particular recipe. So you are going to take your measuring cup, scoop it carefully because there'll be probably a little air pocket that will make flour poof up in your face, so be warned. All right, you'll notice that it's a little over, right? That's what our flat edge of the butter knife is for. We're going to take it and gently scrape off the top so it's flat. That's 1 cup. I'm going to do 1 more cup. Whoops, I always spill flour, and I'm okay with that. Clean it up later. All right, flat edge. I usually give it a little tap in case there's an air pocket that I can fill with some flour. So that's 2. We're going to take 2 of our 4.5 cups of flour, put it in a separate bowl because we're now going to add our baking powder. Baking powder, we need 2 teaspoons of baking powder, okay? Going to dry off the teaspoon we used for the vanilla, because if it's wet, the baking powder is going to stick to it and not go where we want it to go. So you're going to scoop in and you're going to scrape. Most baking powder cans have a little edge. Scrape along just like you did with the flour cup. If you don't have a little edge right here, just use the back of that butter knife again, okay? Multi-purpose here, people. So we have our 2 teaspoons. I'm just going to give that a quick little stir to combine them. Now remember, we have not put all of the 4.5 cups in here yet. Right now we have 2 cups. So you will have 2.5 cups that you need to add after this. We're going to go ahead and put maybe half of that into the mixing bowl. And we're going to blend that, again starting at the lowest setting. Doing the usual 5 to 10 seconds between beats. Okay, and then slowly turn it off. When you turn off your mixer, you want to make sure you go number by number. Don't just go and, you know, zip it off like that. That can damage the mechanism, and then you won't have a mixer. And then you'll never be able to make Hamantaschen again. Everyone will cry and be sad. Okay, I'll cry and be sad, you know. The rest of you can just laugh at me. All right, so we'll put the rest of that 2 cups in baking powder in. Start off with your mixing. And while that's mixing, if you want, you can go ahead and put the other 2 cups of remaining flour, 2.5 cups, excuse me, into the bowl. Okay, and if you can't eyeball half out of here, that's fine. That's what we have the 1/2 cup for. All right, so that is it for the flour. Now you're going to want to keep the flour out somewhere handy, because when you are making the Hamantaschen and rolling it out, you want a little dusting of flour so you don't have the dough stick to the surface. All right, so go ahead, lift that, and you can go ahead, pour the rest of that in there. All right, so this will be the final mixing, and then after that, it can go covered into the refrigerator. So you can see, I don't know if you can, but there's a little bit of flour coming up here because that was a pretty good amount of flour. It will be a thicker dough. All right. So, once we've done that, you can go ahead and use a spoon or your fingers. Always remember to wash your hands, though, before you touch any of the ingredients, because you want to make sure that you don't get any germs. Although most of them will be baked out, it's still proper kitchen hygiene. So you're going to kind of bring down anything that's on the edges, okay, to kind of make it into one solid ball if you can. It doesn't have to be perfectly round. Just want to make sure that when you go to roll it out, you'll be able to just kind of grab a chunk and not have pieces. Okay, it's a stiffer dough, but as I said, it is definitely going to get even stiffer while it refrigerates. Make sure you cover it with a plastic wrap or tin foil or even a towel, as long as the towel does not sink in and actually touch the dough. All right, so what we are going to do is let this refrigerate for 2 hours, and then we will come back and show you the video of how the heck do I shape Hamantaschen, because there is a unique shape to it and there is a story behind that as well. So we'll see you next time on How the Heck.